you remove it from the array? Who made it remove it from the array? Okay, I see Celine. I think I see Jay's elbow and Nikolai. Anybody else do it? Bryn Dan and Jake the Snake. All right, Bryn Dan, I don't call on you very much. Because you don't put your hand up. But you did this? How'd you do it? Splice. Array.splice. JavaScript Array.splice. Changes the contents of an array by removing existing elements. That's exactly what we want to do. And or adding new elements. Syntax. You could do it with just one argument. Index at which to start changing the array. So the position of the one we want to remove probably. Delete count. How many things you want to remove. So we know that's going to be one, right? And then you could optionally put stuff that you want to add. If delete count is omitted, by the way, all of the elements from there to the end are going to be deleted. So we definitely want one in there. Okay, so in addition to this, let's also, we know sooner or later, we want to say this.flix.splice something one, right? So this.flix.splice some index and one. So we need to find the index. So we have to look through the darn array, don't we? Man, yeah, go ahead. Index of? JS array index of. Returns the first index at which a given element can be found, or -1 if it's not present. So what are we searching for inside there? The actual flick object, right? So how would we put that in here? Someone kind of alluded to the fact that they like bound this to something weird so that they could use this. It'd be nice if we could just pass up more arguments to this thing. But it's an event handler and we're not the ones calling it. Well, wouldn't you know it, bind can actually do something besides change the value of this. So we don't need to do anything with this inside here, at least not yet. So we would have no reason to bind this otherwise. But when we set remove flick as the event handler, we could bind this. It's not going to hurt anything. And you can pass other arguments to this, and what it will do is pass those as arguments to the method automatically. So the flick, for example, if we pass the flick here, after we bind this, that argument is going to be passed on to remove flick.
And you don't need to do this.flick.
Because it's an argument in here. So there's no this.flick. There's this.flicks for the array. Yeah, this is just a local variable. Oops, yeah. So we're binding the value of this, and we're passing in an extra argument. So if we're not sure which order they're in, remember we don't have to list out the arguments, right? It doesn't enforce that. I'm just going to throw a debugger in remove flick so I can see what happens when I call it. Oh, I broke everything. Unexpected token, question mark. Yeah, right. So let's click one. I hit my debugger. And inside a method, there's always a local variable called arguments. So you can get to all the arguments even if you never named them. So there's two of them. It looks like 0 is our object, and 1 is the event. So when you pass arguments to an event handler using bind like this, the arguments you pass get added to the beginning. The event is always the last argument in the event handler. So the flick will come first, then the event. So then does what Celine suggested work? Blah, 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 click delete. So I have my flick now, right? Yep. This dot flicks dot index of flick 0. It's the first thing. So const I suppose, equals this dot flicks dot index of flick. This dot flick splice, which index? The one we just found. Let's add a few. The rock, bad boys 2. Bad boys is in the middle, so that's a good test. Yeah. Okay, it deleted it there. The question is, what is app.flicks? It only has 2 things. Bad boys 2 and the rock. It deleted the right one. Life is good. Don't forget to remove your breakpoint. So we remove it from the DOM first, right? Then we remove it from the array. This is a class. We can say, yep. Remove from the DOM. Remove from the array. Tempting to make those separate functions, but that's all right. So remove flicks from the array. Cool.